Nathan James from Inglorious, and we are here today with my lovely guitar player, Dela Cruz, and Whitesnake, just guitar supremo, Joel Hoekstra. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you guys doing?
Really good. Yeah, I know it's very early there, so thank you for taking the time. Have you got a coffee?
Working the coffee yet? Yeah.
Well, yes. So yeah, I wanted to do this little chat really because the song that we wrote with you for this album, one of the two songs actually, has just made the Planet Rock playlist here in the UK, which is quite a big deal for a young band like ourselves. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the song Medusa. And are you happy with it? Because I haven't even really spoken to you about it. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I love it, man. I mean, I'm just I'm thrilled to be a part of your story. You guys are relevant and I don't want to say up and coming because you guys are established, but you certainly haven't hit your peak. So for me, it's just great fun to be a part of your story. I'm used to playing with the Whitesnake and these bands that have been around for 40 years. So for me to be part of somebody that's on their way up, that's super exciting.
thanks, man. Yeah, because obviously you were involved on our first album as well, like which is 5 years ago now.
Yeah, time flies. I know, it's amazing.
Unreal. And I think I remember those sessions. It was Derek Schulman, obviously, who said, Nathan, you need to write with Joel. You're both in America at the same time with TSO. You should get together. And I think we got together in that hotel in Omaha.
Yeah, yeah, the DoubleTree, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, and actually the other one. So we did that the one song for your record, and then we had the riffs for the other one in that session as well. That ended up on my album that's just out right now. I ended up using that. So you can hear it on the song sample right now. It's pretty funny, but it ended up being a song called Fantasy.
Oh, nice. I remember that demo actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, we've performed with you once on the Rock Cruise, which I just friggin' loved. Like, I'd love to get back on that cruise one day. I thought it was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a fixture on there. I love the Monsters of Rock cruise. I have such a good time on there. That hangover set I do every every time on there. I give away free Bloody Marys. It's just I've built like these really strange traditions on there, and the latest is playing basketball. Right, having us all play basketball against all the cruisers. So it's just great fun, man.
Really good fun. I took Jody on there, who's our mutual friend from TSO, obviously.
Hmm.
She was on the cruise that time, and all like the TSO kind of alumni. Jeff was on there, and Russell. So
Yeah, yeah. That was a fun year. Caffrey was on there as well, I believe, right?
it was a real
Yeah.
part of fun. So how long now have you been with TSO?
Man, since 2010 was my first tour, so I think I was hired that year. So it's really over 10 years, which is crazy.
Wow.
Crazy to think about. Yeah, so obviously no tour this year. That was strange, but hey man, I'm still glad to be a part of it. TSO's been an amazing a blessing in my life, man. A great tradition, opportunity to play up on a huge stage with amazing production, with great, all people that I'm friends with, and so it's been a great experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I loved being a part of TSO. It's something that I think I would eventually like look at going back to if the door was ever open. But for me, I had to concentrate on this band at the time, and that 3 months of the year that you have to dedicate to TSO, it wouldn't have worked for me if I was trying to launch this. Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been right. But someday I'd love to go back. I'm sure it'd be good fun.
Yeah.
One day we'll see. So the song, Danny, do you want to take over?
Yeah, so on the song Medusa, how would you say the kind of your influences came into it, and how did you get inspired by the riff?
Well, I just, I think of Nathan, I think of old school Whitesnake, So
Nice.
no offense to anybody. So the thought of doing something blues based, something blues influenced, I thought, how about some slide stuff? I don't really get to do. I did a little bit of slide writing on Flesh and Blood for Whitesnake, but it's not something that really fits in with the Joel Hoekstra's 13 thing very much. That's more of like a Dio-ish kind of thing. So
Cool.
I just thought, this would be a great opportunity to do some slide stuff. I like to play slide. I just don't, for whatever reason, don't get to do much of it. So anyway, yeah, I came up with the riff, and then oddly enough, the chorus, for whatever reason, I just had something different in my mind that wasn't working with the slide. So I ended up going with the fretted notes for that particular riff. But yeah, I just wanted to build something. The chorus came to mind that, well, this could be very melodic. The chorus could be the melodic payoff, and then we can go to the bluesy thing, and obviously the bridge. Well, I think it's the pre-chorus in the song, but a little bit more of that. The Zeppelin-y kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of space in there. Rhythm sections always love that, right? And the drummers and bass players are like, thank God he actually stopped playing for a second, got out of our way.
There you go.
Can hear a hi-hat or a snare drum poke through. Thank you. So anyway, I just want to contribute some cool riffs to you guys, and I just try and think blues-based classic rock, and hopefully, give Nathan a few options and whatever, makes his ear perk up, and just really thrilled to have it be well received by people. That's very exciting for me. And you played the parts amazingly well, brother.
Oh, I really appreciate it, man. And that's a lot of pressure off my my shoulders as well, because I left that song till last because I had to learn slide for the track. Because
you know what, man? I watched the video before I saw your explanation of playing the riffs, and I never would have known, man. You sound like a veteran slide player, so there you go. You're a quick study.
Massively appreciate it, man. That's a lot of pressure off my shoulders there.
Sounds great, brother, and every time I've heard you play, for that matter, I think you sound great. I mean, you're such a great guitar player. So,
man, much appreciated, man. I mean, it's interesting because I do a lot of teaching, and a lot of my students love your playing. They're like, I want to sound like Joel, I want to have all those kind of versatile options and all those style options. So, I mean, that's another question as well. How did you get into playing different styles and being such a versatile player as opposed to just playing,
Yeah. Desperation. I mean, to a degree, that's true. See, I grew up playing rock, but also studying a bit of classical and jazz. That was the thing to do in the 80s. It was all about how much of a virtuoso you were going to be, which the cart was in front of the horse to a degree with all of us. We were all learning how to play all these fancy licks, and it was like, can you really even play good rhythm guitar yet? And it was but anyway, I managed to have those things catch up, I think, at some point. But I would say the best thing that ever happened to me was I went to GIT in Hollywood. That was my big go away from home and maybe, become somebody kind of moment. And the best thing ever happened to me was Nirvana hit right when I got out of GIT. So it was like that whole becoming a virtuoso guitar player thing just kind of crashed and burned. I mean, that scene died.
Yeah.
So
guitar solos in general, didn't they?
That began a really cool period for me, all the way from, I would say, 91, 92 maybe, all the way through really 2008 of me joining Night Ranger, of that whole thing kind of not being cool, like to play solos. And so I had to do everything and anything to kind of prove my value and improve my musicianship and play all kinds of gigs. And so in the end, I mean, it might have made for a more difficult run in life, but it made me a much better musician and somebody who's open-minded to everything and able to understand how to play for the song and just be a better musician overall than just somebody who can play a million miles an hour. So anyway, that's pretty much my story. So out of desperation of making a living, I learned all these different styles and just ability to fit in with people, and anything to have people say, "Oh yeah, he's a good player," right? So
brilliant. And
so there you go.
Yeah, go Nathan.
One thing that sticks out to me and Danny about our time in this band, obviously Danny's been in the band over 2 years now, was festival season 2019 because we did 2 shows with Whitesnake in the same weekend. The first one, we were in a car crash, which was horrific, really scary.
mean,
We went on stage like 3 hours after being in a car crash. 80,
save it for the book, man. That's like definitely going in your book someday, right? Amazing. I hate to laugh at your misfortune, man, but that's funny. That's so rock and roll, car crash and 3 hours later you're on stage. That's just the epitome of the music business right there.
Like someone's made it up or something.
Yeah.
I think Nathan just makes things up, right?
Yeah.
So the cool thing was that we got to share both those shows with Whitesnake. It was Rock the Ring in Switzerland, and then we did Grass Pop Festival in Belgium, which is probably as a band, our favorite show of all time, because we were on the main stage. We were on After FM, and it was like this huge. It was just a really big deal and a really exciting time for the new kind of lineup to be doing such an enormous gig. It's also the day that I met DC, which is obviously a day I will never, ever forget. Like, it was the most magical day of my life. Whitesnake fanboy. And Danny was actually on the side of stage for your set. I don't know if you remember the show, but it was such a cool vibe. And it was that show. It was Whitesnake, Leopard, Kiss. It's just a day that I will never forget as long as I live. Is there any shows that you've done with Whitesnake that really stand out as being like really special, or like crazy crowds or big, massive spaces?
We've had lots of big shows. So I mean, lots of them. I guess they just kind of blur together at a point. I'm thrilled to be there mainly. I mean, just to be small part of the history of that band. I mean, it's great for me. I love DC, great guy, just awesome to work with and work for. I can't say enough good things about him, man. I mean, he's been really wonderful since I joined the band. I kind of came in not knowing what to expect, and I couldn't be more pleasantly surprised. Really, just dig him as a person. Great positive vibe, and just great to work with, man. We just get on. We get along,
That's one thing that I think, Danny, we took away from that gig is both times we saw you that weekend, the band just sound unreal. Like, it sounds so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent in the band. Obviously, Tommy Aldridge is iconic, and done there. He's like that rock royalty level, man. And Reb is just a really, really great musician. Reb is, I think, been through a lot of the ringer too of learning how to do sessions and all that stuff, and just a great singer, great rhythm guitar player. So everybody focuses on his flash and stuff, his tapping, but he's a really great player, great musician. And Michele, our keyboard player, is an amazing singer and can plays bass mainly in his band. So I mean, he's a multi-instrumentalist singer, and Michael Devin is a really talented guy. I mean, we just have a cool lineup. We all come from different places. We got this weird mix, right, of Tommy, a guy like Tommy who's on that Mount Rushmore of rock drummers, and then you got guys like me and Michele coming into the thing, just happy to be there. And so we all come from different places, but we have a lineup that gets along. Our common bond is definitely humor. I mean, everybody in the band is really, really funny. I don't know what it is about musicians. We all tend to be, probably because our lives are so painful, but we all tend to be really funny people, right? I mean, it's really, but Whitesnake is the best laughs I've ever had. I mean, our band bus is like, we don't stop laughing. It's just nonstop.
That's really nice to hear as a fan, actually. So your album is out the same day as ours, which is pretty cool. It's out on the 12th of February. Your album is called Running Games, and the first 2 singles are frigging banging. I love Russell's voice. I've always been a fan of Russell's voice. He has that thing that I can't do, which is that just big, fat Dio sound. Like, he has just the most incredible instrument. And I liked earlier when you said you kind of thought, when you were writing Medusa, you thought about how it would be writing for me, something that I would be able to sing and something that I would be able to enjoy. And I kind of hear that in those songs as well, that they really suit Russell's voice. Do you have that in mind when you're writing this stuff, or is it more about your playing?
Yeah, I mean, I try and with this, it's just different in that I actually write the melodies and the lyrics as well. So with you, I'm contributing the guitar riffs and leaving it open to what you want to write with the melody. With this, I'm always thinking of Russell's range, like what's the top note, and when I want to have a chorus happening, do I want to have him pushing and sounding like he's really belting the chorus? And so I do my best to write for the lineup itself too. I mean, Vinny Appice, obviously you got Vinny and Tony Franklin playing bass, and you kind of get this Dio-ish kind of thing going on. But I do enjoy lighter music than just nonstop that. So I would say it's Dio-ish at its heaviest and Foreigner-ish at its lightest. That's kind of the world in which this lives. And I think Russ does a really good job of singing that style as well.
I agree. I really do.
So, I mean, I've been working with Russ now a long time. We've been touring on TSO together 5-6 years. We know each other very well, and I'm thrilled to have him on the record. He's a great singer, and our TSO brother Jeff Scott Soto did the background vocals as well. And despite the fact that he's only on background vocals, I call him the most overqualified background vocalist of all time. I mean, Jeff needed another project of him singing lead vocals like he needed a hole in the head. I mean, he's got his solo records out right now as well, right? So I mean, his solo record, he's got projects coming out constantly. So I thought it'd be best on this one. I split the lead vocals on the first one, on Dying to Live, and that seemed to be about the only complaint that record got from people, is that, like, I don't get why there's two lead singers. So tried to roll with one lead singer this time, and Jeff still manages to raise the bar, man. I mean, he kicks so much ass I mean, he does that stuff so quickly too. You give him a track like that, the background vocals are done in an hour, and you're like, dude, you sang like 16 tracks on there. How's that even possible? I mean, he's really quick, very impressive.
I miss him a lot, actually. Did you record the album last year during the kind of lockdown pandemic, or was it before?
This is about halfway done by the time all the shit hit the fan, and we all had to come home. Vinny was done, Tony was done, Russ had sang 3 of the songs, I think, and there was a guide vocal from me for the entire record, and so everything was written, lyrics and everything. But yeah, we had to get Russ done. I had to do my real guitars, Jeff and Derek Sherinian. But, everybody, it was pretty quick once we got the ball rolling, especially Sherinian, man. That guy, I mean, it was like unbelievable. Robot. He was done with the whole record in 2 days.
Wow.
13 tracks, 2 days. It's crazy. Just like done.
Was Derek for the last album as well? Or is he just for this one?
Derek, he's on Dying to Live, but he didn't have as much room on Dying to Live. That was an album that, while I was writing it, was kind of learning what it was going to be, whereas this one I had more of a clear vision. So I didn't leave as much room for him. It was the solos that I did give him, I kind of had to take a pass on having a guitar solo in the song on Dying to Live. And then this one I did a lot of, all right, this will be the keyboard solo, this will be the guitar solo. So and we even go back and forth and spar a little bit on a couple of the tracks, and that's taking it back to that Yngwie kind of thing. Although I don't really play much like Yngwie, but that kind of thing where the guitar player is going back and forth with the keyboard player.
Nice.
Is an enormous Yngwie fan. Do you want to talk about influences and stuff, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, I had an interesting question that I think a lot of guitar players might want to hear as well. In how do you kind of approach guitar sounds in all the projects that you play in? For instance, Whitesnake, do you approach it as like the kind of tones from the original albums, or do you go, okay, I'm going to put my sound into the live set, then tweak it from there, and just the major parts add the major kind of effects in from there? How would you kind of approach it in different projects?
I mean, it all starts with a Les Paul for me. And then when you need to change, you need to change. But I enjoy the Les Paul sound, so thankfully that fits right in with what David needs with Whitesnake. We have Reb playing the Super Strat sound, so that works perfectly with me. I'm just so happy playing a Les Paul. That's my favorite sounding guitar and playing guitar.
Nice.
So and from there I just kind of build out. But the longer I'm at it, the more I just appreciate even like the clean sounds that come off of a Les Paul. I know as most people say, oh, switch to a Strat, go to the single coil thing. And I don't know, something I just enjoy about even the cleans coming off of a Les Paul these days. So, I mean, exactly. Running games, it's just my gold top on the entire record. I think I used a Strat on some clean stuff, and I used, anytime there was a need for a sustainer to hold notes and have it be like feedback, I used my Jackson PC-1, which has a good sounding sustainer in it. But that was, yeah, I'm basically just a Les Paul guy, and I'm happy with that, as far as I can go with that. And I just encourage people to always, they say, well, what kind of guitar should I get? And I'm like, just get a Les Paul, get a Strat, and get a Tele. And anything else from there is kind of just, frosting on the cake, man. If you want to get fancy, cool looking guitars or whatever, knock yourself out. But those would be the three that I would say, unless you're going to go for jazz and then you want to get something bigger, get a hollow body. But
I guess in a way they're kind of like the colors of rock guitar, really, aren't they? And guitar in general, they're the kind of the colors that you might mix together and make other stuff, So, I mean, what would you say for amps as well? Just being really guitar nerdy out there and just kind of throwing it out there. What would you say the three colors are for amps and amp sounds?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really a Marshall guy. I like Marshall, and I like the Friedman amps. Nice. I mean, I have some other ones that I used on. Occasionally, I was actually playing through Reb's Custom Audio because it was what was booted up, and so it was like, let me just plug into that real quick and just lay this down. So there's a couple times where I'm using Reb's Custom Audio electronics head, and but Victory's they give us a head. It sounded really cool. Metza Barba we have at the studio. We had a nice little setup there, and just would go back and forth. But in general, it's a modded 800 on Flesh and Blood. And then as far as this new album, Running Games, is the first one where I had to use plugins, just because I had to cut my tracks here in my apartment, and I don't have I'm in a New York City apartment. I don't have a 412 in here. And if I did, they'd kick my ass out of here. So basically, I printed a modeling unit I have for the mix engineer, but also just ran a DI, and I think, he just worked with the DI, and he had his own preferences with that. But he used that neural DSP stuff that everybody's talking about right now.
That's right,
for plugins. So he's like 4 different amps off of that, and it's its own thing. I think it sounds cool. I mean, I've gotten a lot of compliments on the guitars on it, so
brilliant.
That works for me.
Great to me. I would have never known they were plugins, but yeah, awesome stuff.
So finally, I saw the other day that our good friend and project mate Michael Sweet and Alessandro have started the pre-production for the project that you, Marco Mendoza, Tommy, and Michael are doing together. For me, this is like a dream come true. You can imagine. I mean, you've already played with Tommy, but he is on so much stuff that I love. And I know Marco because we toured with the Dead Daisies a couple of times. I think actually I was the one that suggested him originally to Serafino when they were looking for this kind of lineup. And I am so excited. What has been your kind of contribution? What have you contributed so far as in terms of riffs and stuff? What kind of are you hearing for this project?
Well, I mean, Michael asked me he tasked me with coming up with guitar riffs for the song ideas, and he wanted to work it like he did with George Lynch with the Sweet Lynch records, where not really in song form. So basically just come up with like, hey, this would be an intro riff or whatever verse, but I don't arrange it, if that makes sense. He wanted them to be like about 1.5 minutes long or something like that, and he can copy and paste and kind of put it in song form. And then if there's things missing, like, oh, it should have a 2-bar breather, that he'll play the chord. And so he's currently arranging them and putting them into song form. So anyway, we'll see what becomes of it. It's going to be very interesting. I've never gone about writing a record this way, so it's going to be very collaborative. Obviously, we got 4 people that like to write, and we've got 2 producers, so we got a lot of things happening. So I'm just listening to the producers, man, and taking it from there, right? So, but it was cool coming up with the riffs. I mean, just straight ahead, kind of blues-based rock, and we'll see how it goes.
I cannot wait to hear the demos. I'm gonna ask Michael if he's got anything to show me. I think at the end of the week, just see if I can kind of get a feel for it, because I'm not fully like yourself. Like, I don't know how this is going to sound or what it's going to become. So it's pretty exciting to me as a singer. So Joe, I'm not going to take any more of your time, man. Your album is out on the 12th of February, the same day as ours. If people head to the Frontiers website, they can buy both at the same time. Put it in the basket. Check. Get Running Games by Joel Hoekstra 13, and get Inglorious, We Will Ride, which also features 2 songs that Joel has co-written. Thanks.
See how I did that? I slipped in there, so even I can't. You can't even go to the competition. We're not competition any longer, right? So I think the best thing you could say is buy both, right? Isn't that's the smartest thing? There should be some kind of Frontiers promo, right? Buy Inglorious, We Will Ride. Buy Joel Hoekstra's 13 Running Games. Boom. 2 for the price of 2 at the moment. But maybe they could do some kind of discount thing. I don't know. Talk to Serafino. But anyway, I mean, dude, anything I've heard off your record, I'm so stoked for you guys. It sounds great. You guys are just, your trajectory is awesome. Just watching you guys rise. So thrilled for both of you guys. Danny, you sound amazing, man.
So much.
Great young guitar player. So that's always fun for me to be able to watch the new generation coming up. And anyway, I wish you guys nothing but the best. Thanks so much for your time today. And
Yourself, man.
yeah, here's to good times ahead for all of us, huh?
Absolutely, man.
Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
All right, cheers, guys.
Bye.
Have a nice day.